Hello everyone, I'm Sophia, and here's how I got into all the schools I applied to with one portfolio. So to begin with, I just want to tell you guys a little bit about my background. I applied to 5 programs at 3 schools. The design program at UBC, the Bachelor of Landscape Architecture at NUS, and Architecture, Landscape Studies, and Design Plus at HKU, which I all got accepted into. I remember when I was preparing for a landscape architecture portfolio, I was like, what the heck is landscape architecture? Because it is such a new and relatively small field. There weren't much information online about what a undergrad landscape architecture portfolio should look like. Luckily, I had the experience of taking a few high school architecture summer courses at different universities like RISD, SVA, and I also have the experience of making a visual art portfolio, which I used to apply to universities last year. So I kind of have a rough idea of what a landscape architecture portfolio should look like. I picked a few pieces from my past portfolios, and I also made a few new ones, and I kind of just smashed them together, and boom, there's my new landscape architecture portfolio. Before we dive straight in, I just want to say that the portfolio I submitted to different universities and different programs are slightly different, but they're essentially the same. Well, I hope this video can help those who were as confused as I was, and let's just get started. Let me pull out my art portfolio. And this first piece of my portfolio, which is also the cover page, is a page from my sketchbook, which I drew at a cafe at Paris. It is kind of cliche because I was being that girl at Paris with a sketchbook. But it all turned out good because I ended up using this in my portfolio. I want to start off with a sketch, not just to show the emissioners that I can draw, but also how I believe that drawing is one of the most fundamental skills in architecture. And I wanted to put this out here first thing first to kind of show what I believe in. And then the second one is this origami study I did inspired by mushrooms. For those in architecture, you probably know how important models are. So I wanted to put this at the second page to show that I can make things. Essentially, all these structures came from the same thing, which is the little triangular shape on the left top corner, and you can fill this into all these different shapes. The next one is called the nest. Like the name suggests, it's literally a bird nest. I wanted to break the convention of a rectangular wooden nest and make something that's both materially and visually naturalistic. I was inspired by this museum in Japan called the Tashima Art Museum, which literally looks like a water droplet on land. It's so cool. You can see this on my next page, which is the process for this last project. I used this technique where I weave threads and applied glue on them, which makes them malleable yet able to form a structure. So you can also see this as an experiment of materials. Also, the bird eggs on the right photo is photoshopped, it's not real. Next, we're moving on to this mini golf course design which I made. One thing I want to talk about is the negative space on this page. I really paid attention to the negative space in this project because sometimes negative space can be more important than positive space. It makes your portfolio look much cleaner and just more professional in general. So guys, don't fill your portfolio with pictures and words. Let them breathe too. And this is the final product of the last process page. I included this project to show my model making skills because I think the point of portfolio is essentially to prove to universities that you can succeed in the program that you're gonna take in. Architecture is all about space, designing, sketching, and model making, so I thought this is a good way to show universities that I have this ability. But at the same time, and quite counterintuitively, universities, like architecture schools, don't actually like to see fully developed architecture project because that's what you're going to learn in schools, right? So try to make something that showcases your skills and your interests, but not like a full built building if you're applying to architecture schools. All right, this one is one of my favorites. It's also like a passion project because it specifically demonstrates my interest toward landscape architecture. This is, again, a process page. This project started when my dad wanted to do a garden renovation and I volunteered to design for him. I was inspired by the Prairie Garden on the High Line, New York when I visited, so I researched like the idea behind this specific style kind of garden and made a few study sketches. And here's the final project. You can see my plan here and the before and after picture right here. I also wrote here why this project is so important to me. During the height of the pandemic, my father, mother, and I labored on this small piece of land. This project is not only a design, but a process that brought our family closer. So that's why I love this project so much. Moving on to the last project in my portfolio, which is also the most invested and researched piece. It's like this combination of UI design and project proposal. It's basically like a project inspired by a real historical event, the Nanjing Massacre, and it's about sensing a problem and creating a solution for it. I remember one of my friends said, art is self-expression, but design is problem-solving. And I remember when I heard that, I was like, whoa, this is really the essence of design. And I wanted to show this thinking in my portfolio and also the ability to research a problem holistically and coming up with a solution. I ended up sending this project to the Memorial Hall of Nanjing, and although it wasn't accepted, I was really happy that I did it because it is something that meant special to me. All right, now we're moving on to the works that are sometimes put in my portfolio. The first one is some figure drawings I did in this figure drawing class where like nude models basically come in every week and I would draw them. And this is some photos I took in Chinatown, New York. I wanted to include this because, again, for those who study architecture, you know how important photo taking are, or just anyone who's in art and design related fields. This is a graphic design work where I try to represent my life with 10 icons using Illustrator. This is a combination of mixed media painting and installation. Essentially, I made this painting with a lot of materials like acrylic, spray paint, crayons. I even like sticked found objects on it. And in the end, I put like matches around this painting and lit it on fire. I did a lot of weird works. And this one I think is the last one. Is a 3-minute documentary film I did. It's a collaborative project I made in my last program, which is collaborative art at NYU. If you're interested in that, I also made a video separately on why I left that program. I include this project because it is a collaborative project and I wanted to show my collaboration skills. Some people might think, like, why are you including all these visual art, even film in your design portfolio? But I actually think it's fine to include these. I've heard many admissioners say that as long as your portfolio showcases who you are, what you put in there doesn't really matter. So 100 people will have 100 different successful portfolios as long as it represents you. If you only have one takeaway from this video, I just want to say that portfolio is a way to showcase your creativity, your way of thinking, and the way you perceive the world around you and the way you interact with it. So there isn't one model of successful portfolio. For those who are just starting our portfolio or wrapping up on your portfolio, just remember you can put up an amazing portfolio as long as it demonstrates who you are. All right, before we end this video, I just want to give 4 essential advices for those who are making a portfolio. First, process is more important than the final product. I know for those who are starting their portfolio, this might sound quite counterintuitive, but trust me, what exactly you do doesn't really matter. What matters is actually how the project demonstrates your thinking and what you're interested in. So don't be afraid to spend a few pages on your sketchbook and your processes, because that actually might be more interesting to the admissioners than your final photos. Second one is negative space. Negative space is something that people are not aware of when they're starting off to format their portfolio, but it's actually really important to leave space for your project to breathe and not overload the admissioners with words and pictures. So let your work breathe and put in some descriptions, not essays. This gives admissioners a more pleasant viewing experience, which would end up leave them a better impression of your portfolio. Third point is to keep your format consistent. I would say don't worry too much about this one, because just like your portfolio, you would naturally have this formatting style, but something that would help is to have a consistent font, consistent margin, and consistent style. For my portfolio, I use InDesign to lay out my works, for those who are interested. Last tip is the order of the works. Some people says that you should put your strongest work at the beginning of your portfolio and the end of portfolio to leave a strong impression for the admissioners, but I kind of just did it based on my intuition and the level of complexity, so from sketches to more complex works. I think the advantage of doing this way is that it naturally guides through the admissioner through your process and also gives them a sense of development. I don't know, you can do whatever you want. Anyways, I hope this video helps for those who are applying this year. Good luck on your portfolio, and I will see you next time.